Welcome to the Arrowheads podcast, your official podcast of the PLL sanctioned supporter group, the Arrowheads, your one-stop shop for Utah Archers lacrosse. Welcome to another episode of the Arrowhead podcast. We are your official podcast of the official supporter group for the Utah Archers Lacrosse Club. So, we got a big day today. We have two guests on our show today. Number one guest is Jackson Land. Jackson is with us from Westlake High School Lacrosse. Jackson won our contest for the high school with the most submissions of text questions, and Jackson had the most questions submitted from Westlake. So he won the prize to be on and be a guest host with us today. And he gets to help us interview who is the 2024 Teammate of the Year award winner, the Archers captain, Ryan Ambler. Ryan, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
Appreciate you being on. We start this every time we have a guest on. Maybe somebody's living under a rock. They're listening to us for the first time. They're like, who are the Archers Lacrosse? And who is this guy, Ryan Ambler? Tell everybody who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Ryan. I grew up just outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs, Abington, Pennsylvania. It's funny enough, I think my entire family went there. All of my siblings, my parents went there. My grandfather went there. He was like the class of like 1931. So a lot of history in Abington. Played college lacrosse at Princeton, which was a lot of fun. After my 4 years at Princeton, I spent 1 year with the Denver Outlaws back in the MLL, 1 year with the Ohio Machine. And then once the PLL started, I joined the PLL Archers, which are now the Utah Archers officially after last year.
Love it.
Yes, sir.
You're like an OG of the Archers. Like, we've talked to a lot of the new guys, but you're like one of the originals. So
I know, I've seen some shit.
And that's why we have you on. You're gonna tell us all the secrets. I think a lot of people, we see you guys on the field and we see you for players, but like, who are you behind the scenes? Like, we try and Instagram stalk people and like see you with a dog. Like, tell us who you are behind the scenes. Like,
yeah, I guess I don't post much, do I? Let's see. Who am I behind the scenes? Well, I will say, so I live in New York City. I've been here since I graduated. Great city. I love living here. I do have a dog named Rosie. She's about 3.5 years old. Rescued her a few years ago. And I live with my fiance, which is a lot of fun. So I don't know what I like to do outside of lacrosse. I love to eat. We're like big eaters. Love to try different restaurants. We love to walk. We wake up every morning with a long walk with the dog, and each day with a long walk with Rosie. We'll go over to like the highway where there's right along the Hudson River, and the other thing I like to do is travel. We just got back from a trip in South America, which was a lot of fun. Earlier this year, we went out to Japan, which was amazing because we got to go with the PLL. And if you haven't been before, if you haven't seen how the game has evolved over there, it's pretty remarkable. I was fortunate enough to go 2 years in a row, and each year that we went, we got to play in a game. Year one against the Japanese national team, who is extremely talented, and then this year was a group of some of the all-stars, and I think they put it on the local TV station, and it was nuts because when you watched the highlight tape after. It was palpable to feel the energy in the stadium, but the announcers, when everyone was scoring or, their goalie actually made, I think, somewhere around like 21 or 22 saves. It was madness. And it's really cool to just see the game growing. It was a truly unique experience to get to travel, tens of thousands of miles away and see how much, lacrosse has grown. There were kids knee high who had amazing stick work skills, and I couldn't believe it. And even just a year's time, we got to do a big clinic year one, and then year two people came back, and I couldn't believe some of the kids that I had seen from the year before had gotten so much better. So it's been a lot of fun. So love to eat, love to travel around the city, love to walk. Trying to think what else I love. Love the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a big Eagles fan. It's probably the only professional sports team that I follow a bunch. Sixers can be a little bit brutal. The Phillies are a lot of fun when they're knocking on the door for the World Series. Let's see. I'm a Virgo. I'm left-handed, but I like to write with my right hand. What else do you want
Okay. I actually I have a couple of follow-up questions from this. So
to know?
you love to eat.
Good.
You're in New York City. There is 100 options. Like, what is your go-to place when you're like your repeat? Like, I gotta go hit like your favorite place in New York.
Oh man. So I guess it depends on how much time I have. The easy answer for if it's really, really quick, I think going to Chipotle is still up there for me as one of the best meals. I'm lucky enough that there are all these delis everywhere.
Mhm.
So amazing sandwiches, easy to grab up a bunch of food at once and come back to your apartment and just kind of escape a little bit and eat a ton. I have to say, Italian and Mexican are probably my two favorite choices if I'm eating, and I probably place Mexican at the highest. So I'm more than happy, and there's a bunch of restaurants around me to go sit down, have a few margaritas, potentially a beer, and then eat as much chips and guac, enchiladas, and tacos and quesadillas as I can.
I love it. Good call. Good call. There's some good Mexican food
Yeah.
in New York.
Also love Indian. Indian is one of my
Oh,
favorites, and there's a place around me. When they listen to this podcast and they hear, I hope that we could strike some type of deal. Bombay Bistro. If anyone is in New York, that is the best place to go. Best food, best ambiance, best drinks I've ever
now you're speaking my language as an Englishman. That's our
had.
like national food at this point. Good Indian.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I love that.
Um, International, like you kind of touched on it a little bit. Like I'd love to dig into this. Like you've seen the change. My son actually went and played a couple of years ago with the England team in a training session on the weekend. Got invited out there to train with them as a senior in high school. Um,
Nice.
to me, it was crazy. Like I grew up there. I didn't even know lacrosse was a men's sport, even in
Yeah.
England, right? And to see it grow, the impact of the PLL on that, how much do you put that down to see, you guys are out there now with a big following. It feels like the Ravens have done a really good job of getting the game out there.
Yeah.
How talk to me about that, how you've seen that influence.
Ooh, it goes back a bit. So my brother actually played at Drexel, and so did my dad, and they both had really successful careers. I was a ball boy when I was a little kid, probably 7 or 8 years old, and that's the first time that I saw Team England actually playing against Drexel. So that must have been '05, '06. And to see the game evolve even from then, even when I was, a little kid to now, uh, the parity across some of these countries and how quickly they're able to pick up the sport is pretty remarkable. And I would say, there's one other place that I played randomly. I was in the Czech Republic once with my brother, and we got connected with this local crew and played kind of like a pickup game, which was a lot of fun. They were stringing up their own nets. They gave us a lot of box gear, a stick that I was like, I don't know how to use this. And I was in high school.
Oh,
Um, but the level of play and how quickly people are able to pick up concepts, skills. The Japanese in particular, like I was so impressed with their stick work. And then when we got on the field, like the way that they were running plays, their structures, their sets, the way that they communicated with each other, even being there a year after was remarkable. And then you watch them in the sixes tournament, and they're no joke. They can freaking play.
yeah. That's awesome. I love that. It's so fun to see, and especially with the Olympics coming up in 2028. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun to see those nations show up and show out. So it'll be great. Last
Yeah.
question I have for you in this section, real quick. And
Sure.
Brady, he can't be with us tonight. He's studying. He's being responsible. He's got stuff to do for school. Um,
Nice.
there's a picture of you from the championship game, not this year, but the prior year,
Okay.
and you're missing a tooth. He's like, "What's up with the missing tooth?"
Oh man. You want the full story?
Sure.
um, I lost it when I was a freshman in college. I was like 2 weeks in, and it was a dumb incident. And I remember calling my dad and saying, "Hey, I need you to pick me up. I might have chipped a tooth. It was a bit bigger than a chip, but we'll go with a chip." So I snuck out. Luckily, like no one really knew that I was out of there. Got it fixed. Came back. Everything was fine. So, that was when I was 18. Fast forward to last summer. It was July, and I was at work, and I bit into a sandwich, and all of a sudden I just felt a crack.
Oh,
And I went, "Oh my God, what could this be?" So I looked down. Luckily, I wasn't in too much pain because basically the root was gone. And, I'll spare you all of the gross details. But I looked down and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's my tooth." And the people around me didn't quite know that it was a fake tooth already. So I'm sure that they were like, "What the heck is wrong with this guy? Like, is he on something? How do your teeth don't just fall out?" So what had happened was, luckily my sister-in-law is a dentist. So I got on a train immediately to Philly. She's like, "I'll fix it for you." The problem was, and I don't know how well you guys know teeth. um, when you have sort of just a fake tooth, usually you can, just kind of stick one up there, and there's a root that you're able to basically stick it on. But there was no support or structure. It totally broke. So what you had to do was actually get an implant. And when you get an implant, you have to rip out the top of your tooth, put in a bunch of, cracked up bones, and then you have to let it set for 6 months. So July hit, and it was like, I'm not going to get a new tooth until this thing sets, which is December. And I have a very, very patient fiance, and she just dealt with me, having no tooth for 6 whole months because I didn't wear my fake one. It kept falling out.
Yeah.
So that happened mid-season, and I think we only lost one time. It was like the last, regular season game of the year, unfortunately in Utah, but it was like an incredible, amazing day. I still remember like the sun going down. There was an orange hue across the whole field, and we lost the heartbreaker. And the funny thing was, we win the championship, and there was a few, people like Coach Bates in Kangaroo Court used to find me for it. It was a tooth tax. It was like $2 every time. So I'm like, I'm going broke from this thing. Not only do I have to pay for new tooth, I have to pay this freaking fine. But then we go to the Champ Series, and I have my tooth, and we lose every single game. And a lot of people were like, "Is the tooth bad luck? Like, can you pull it back out? Like, are you sure you're 0-4 with the tooth? Well, what are we gonna do about this? Can you pull it out?" Luckily, we win the first game of the season against the Water Dogs because I'm like, if we go on a losing streak, I think I gotta pull it back out.
Hey,
So
I
that is
do.
the long story.
I love it. What I got out of that is, folks, Ryan Ambler is committed to this team winning and would pull his tooth out. That's what it took.
I asked my sister-in-law, I was like, "Can I pull this out?" And she's like, "I'll make it work. Don't worry."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Hey, well,
it
Ryan,
is.
we're so glad to have you, man. It's a huge honor to have you on the pod. One of the questions I have for you was, we talked about this earlier. You're one of the OGs. You've been with the
Yeah.
Archers since the beginning, and so I was just curious to know, like, what's the progression been like since the beginning? What have been the biggest changes you've seen, and how has it changed to get the juggernaut team that we have today?
Yeah, well, I think you first have to look around the league. The level of play has gone up every single year. I go back and I watch tape from year one and to watch it now. The talent, skill, athleticism, and speed of the game has just exponentially grown. Every year, people have come back and have gotten even better. And I think um, just like you sort of have to bring your game to a new level. So that's the first thing that I've noticed is how we got from 2019 all the way to here now. Um, I first think about the coachings. Like they have done an incredible job of building a really talented group, and a group that also meshes well together. And that started with the first group, right? Like you think about some of the day one guys. Scott Ratliff, Adam Gittleman, Will Manny, Marcus Holman, Dominique Alexander, Jackson Place, Matt McMahon. You have Tom, obviously, like Ben McIntosh was with us. Danny, I could go on and on and on. there was some real talent there, and we were super skilled. And towards the end of the season, we caught some bad breaks. Maybe couldn't put it together at the level that we wanted to, and maybe that gave us a better appreciation for the last 2 years and helped us figure out where some of our gaps were. But I'll tell you what, we had some fantastic talent, and I'm really appreciative and loved all the time that I had with those guys that I played with. Um, I think what has helped us get to where we are today, again, is a mix of the coaches, right? But I think the importance that we've stressed upon, bringing in people who are big for the culture first, are guys that are just fantastic people. Like, I think, I'm biased because I know the Archers very well. We have always had incredible people in this organization. From day one, everyone we played with, I look at them and I'm like, to a man, that's a guy that I want to play with, and I know it has my back. So I think we've stuck to that core value. And I think we've continued to draft well, right? Like, you look back every year, we've added a really key person, or persons, I should say, to our lineup. You know, Trey LeClaire is someone who, I was raving about in the press conference after Utah. He's finally getting the credit he deserves as an all pro. He's always been that way, but each year he's had to take his game to a different level to what the team needed, right? Like, he's played D midi, he's played transition. And then, you look at our rookie class, 2 years in a row, every single rookie is playing for us. It might even be three. I lost track because Piper Bond to me is basically an old man because of how many games he's played and how much I hang out with him. So, I think to like bring it back, like, Coach Kavanaugh, Coach Bates, Coach Resch, they do a really, really solid job of investigating, players, people first, and bring them into this organization with a purpose. We're not just drafting just to say, hey, we got the number one guy. Like, that's great. It's like, no, we got this person because they're a stud. They're an incredible lacrosse player, and they're going to contribute to the success of our culture first, and then on the field. And then look, like, I get it. Tom is one of my closest friends, best friends in the world. It's helpful to have him around, right? Because that's a guy who you just want to follow. I remember Coach Bates way back in the day. I got to play for him at Princeton and play with Tom and Coach Cav. Day one, Coach Bates was like, go follow that guy around, like, do everything that he does, and I think you'll end up in a good spot. So, I still look to him as somewhat of a mentor to me, and I follow a lot of what he does. So, I know that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think just back to like the type of people that we bring into this organization who have helped build it from day one. Those OG guys that I told you about, and then how we've continued to evolve over the years. You look at a leader like Tom and you follow what he does. It's not a lot of rah rah. Like, when he says something, you listen up, but his play says it all, and you want to play as hard as you can for him. And I just really respect our coaching staff for their views and how I guess bullish they are on a lot of our players, and how confident they are in our and what their capabilities are and the systems that we run.
I love that, and it's to the point about you being an original. Like, when we've asked a couple of the guys that we've had on, like, hey, when Utah got announced, a lot of them were surprised that Utah got a team, but
Yeah.
you were here for the bubble. You
Oh
played there
yeah.
in the bubble. You played when we were at Rio Tinto Stadium, and Will was on the team, Adam was on the team, Marcus was on the team, and
Oh
you were, I mean, I had a kid, my own child, who wore a Redwoods jersey because he's a Redwoods fan at the time, cheering for
yeah.
the Archers because it was like they were a local team. Like, how was that to you when Utah got announced? Like, were you just like, oh yeah, this makes sense? Or were you surprised at all? Or
Maybe a little surprised just because we had so many Philly guys on our team. And I was like, I don't know where, I don't think that they had told us all of the cities. So we were just as much in the dark as everyone else. I have like a fond place in my heart for Utah for a number of reasons. The COVID bubble year is one of my like favorite, yeah, sorry, favorite like seasons, if you will, even though it was only 7 games or so. We added a lot of great talent that year. Like, you think about, like, that was Grant Ament's first year.
Yep.
He's now like a wily vet. He's been there 4 or 5 years. It's kind of like funny to think about. Um, but to have a chance to be with all of your teammates in one place for 21 straight days, and all you're doing is eating, breathing, sleeping lacrosse. I mean, who had it better than us? I know we might not have to like test or do any of that stuff to make sure that we were all healthy, but I look back on that time and I'm super grateful for it, especially with what was going on in the world. Like how fortunate were we to get to just go fly across the country in a charter plane and get to play like that. That to me is just such like a special moment. And then getting to go back and play every single year. I mean, I love that Utah has such a rabid fan base, and each year it leveled up. When we played at Real Salt Lake, it was really cool, right? Bigger stadium. I prefer, the bank, as Brett Dobson would call it, the bank. I love it. I think that it's such an interpersonal type of environment. You're so close to the fans. I think the sound carries well, and then how can you not look at the mountains in the background and just go like, are we on a different planet? Um, and we've had just some fun games there. We got to play. I think the one time we played there at 10 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if you were there for that one,
Yep.
where they were trying to get everyone out before the storms. We had a
Yep.
great game against the
Oh
Chaos,
yeah.
the barn burner against the Water Dogs. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I looked back on the 2 games that we had in Utah this year and I think that was a major turning point in our year. And I've listened to a bunch of the guys on the podcast talk about that. We've talked about it in the conference or whatever media we've been in or the post game conferences. Like it was a pretty big turning point. I mean, for those who weren't following, our progression, like we were 4-4 and we were coming off a bad loss in Denver. And then to make matters worse, our top guy goes down in the first quarter,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It was everything that was lining up to be like, maybe this isn't our year, right? I don't think anyone in our locker room felt that, but if you were someone who was a couple steps removed, you could be like, this is going to be tough for the Archers. But I think the coolest moment that I had to think about when it went to overtime, right? And Rob Pennell throws it to Ryder Garnsey. He catches a ridiculous pass with John Robbins draped over him, scores the ball, and we thought the game was over. I'm on the field because we looked at the iPad and we're like, this is clearly not, going to count. But I distinctly remember where I was. It was on the far side of the bench at midfield, right next to Graham Hossack. And we're talking because I'm getting into the ride. And Matty Palin comes out on the field, announces that it's no goal, and the eruption from the crowd. I mean, it like gives you chills to think about. And in my mind, I'm like, no freaking way we're losing this game. Like, there's just no way. And then you top it off with Van Overbeek catching it lefty, swinging upfield and backhand, putting it in the net. You're like, all right, we're rolling. So I don't know, and I don't know if you've like watched the game film after that. The camera guys do a pretty good job of panning to Coach Bates when the big eruption goes on, and you just see him sort of start to crack a smile because like he understands like the gravity of the situation, but also has his feet on the ground and is like, "Oh my God, look at all of this craziness."
Yeah, it was epic. I think Toast and I were actually standing down by the field when that happened, right when he scored it. And we're like, what? Like we were down there, we saw the goal go in, and we're like, oh crap. And then when it
Well,
got called off, we're
well,
like,
we were so pissed too because there were too many men on the field right before
Oh
then.
yeah,
So we were so mad that they didn't call it. And so yeah,
yeah.
anyway.
But it was, yeah, we're with you. Like the electricity went through that stadium because we felt like it was a Friday night. People had come
crazy.
from work. They were trying to get, it was trying, like we were trying to amp up the crowd the whole time, and it lit that up. And so the next day was just like, all right, we've got this. Like it was
Yeah,
fun. So for you,
it's yeah.
it's you've
What were
had
you
like a
gonna say?
ton of experiences in Utah. Like it seems like you've had all these big
Yeah,
things happen. The other big thing that happened in Utah was obviously Tom goes down,
yeah,
and the next morning he hands the captaincy to you. Talk
yeah.
us through that moment.
Uh, Humbling for sure. I don't think it changed anything. I I like hold that. that title and that respect in the highest of regards, obviously, Tom's our captain, and like he always will be. It's not like, I tried to be anything different than just myself. I think that our team is made up of guys who really understand and celebrate each other's roles. I mean, you guys know me. It's like I'm not out there scoring 5 goals a game. Like that's not my job. And I appreciate that I have like teammates who see the value in all of each other and understand the pieces that work together, because we are a team, and it's not just like all-star guys going out there trying to get theirs. I just want to win. So at that moment, I was really, honestly, it was kind of bittersweet, because I'm like, my best friend, and he's hurt and he's like down, and I'm kind of an emotional guy, and I'm upset about it. I'm like, this sucks. Like, we're supposed to, go win this thing together and keep, moving on. And we've been doing it together for such a long time. He's been my roommate on the road. Like, we talk every day. But to take that on, it's an honor. Like I try to do my best and be myself, and continue to give like as much confidence to people around me, and just do the little things. I don't know. Like you look up to all those people who came through the organization and your coaches, and in a way, it became easy because you were just like, look, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to learn from all those guys that have come through and have taught me, how to be a leader, and what, the like leaders are sort of made of. And from there, it kind of just took off. And luckily, we've got some damn good rookies. We've got an incredible goalie, and some pretty damn good older guys like Grant and Mac and Fieldsy, who could put the ball in the back of the net, and Matt Moore.
Love that.
So, so Ryan, obviously, like when you're watching PLL and you see all these like personalities, and even with the coaching, and I think one big one that comes to mind is Coach Towers, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on it earlier, but Coach Bates, he seems like a really like down to earth, even keel guy. And how do you think that like his personality or character, and how do you think his character influences the team?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. Um, I think his personality actually meshes well with our team. He might come off as like down to earth. He likes to have a good time, mess around. Big deadhead, loves music. But he's a really bright and cerebral lacrosse coach, as well as a human being. And I think if you look around our locker room, we've got some smart guys, like especially on the lacrosse field. Um, and I've been fortunate enough to play, for him for quite some time now. I'm really impressed by each year. We talked about earlier, like how people are upping the level of their game. The way that he's upped his schemes every year as a coach, and his decision making, and sort of, breaking the barriers of the game as well, has been super impressive. I'm not sure if you guys see some of the substitution patterns that we do, which is more so, Coach Cav, but Coach Bates, the way, I think about the third and the fourth quarter of the championship game. We're running some of these scripted plays that he has ready to go, and he's got confidence and faith in us to run them. And luckily, we've got the guys and people who are committed to doing it, and it's helped us be successful. So, I kind of look at the way that he runs the team, and he treats us. He treats us like adults. First off, he expects that everyone has a stick that's dialed in. They're in shape. We've watched our film. We come to film, ready with questions, and we're prepared. And then on game day or practice, we're dialed into whatever the game plan is and understanding what we need to do to be successful. And, when we don't do them correctly, he's critical. And it's in a way that it's from a respectful place, and a place of like, hey, we have a lot of talent. Let's not waste it. Let's stick to our structures and our plans. And if we do that, we're going to be successful. So I look at some of those losses that we had. We had some success afterwards or later on in the season, because I think, he was able to be, critical, but in a, kind of constructive way, and say, if we improve upon these things, our efficiency is going to go up. our shooting is going to go up, our turnover ratio is going to go down. Towers is a hilarious one because I think it fits the mold of that team. Like they feed off of it. You know what I mean? I personally love him as a guy, so I think he's a blast to be around. But it is a pretty stark and drastic dichotomy between personalities for Bates and Towers.
Yeah, for sure. So another one we kind of talked about earlier is like teammate of the year, right? Tom goes down, you're the new captain. What does it mean to you to be a good leader?
Oof, yeah. Um, I think there's a lot of things that go into that, right? To be a good leader. And well, one of the things that I respect about someone like Tom is, he's a guy who, leads from the front, right? He would never do, or he would never, he would like not expect any of us to do something that he wouldn't do, right? Like, that he is out there working harder than anyone else, and that he puts in the time, the effort. And I just really respect that about any leader who's kind of like has that quiet confidence and, doesn't need to be rah rah, but when you go on the field, you sort of see them turn on that extra level. And that's, I think, one piece of it. I think being a leader, like you need to give confidence to people around you. And I respect the fact that like we do that a lot in our locker room. We bring in guys like Mason Woodward because we believe that they're absolute monsters and are going to wreak havoc on other teams. And, I think all season long, we were kind of like, Mace, like, go do your thing. Like, go take it up the field. Go shoot the ball. We were in Connecticut at one time, and there was actually there was like a speed gun that I had behind the net. I just kind of found it because I guess they do that for the broadcast. And him and Graham Hossack were shooting the ball, and I was just watching it tick up like 90, 95, 100, 105. And I'm like, shoot the ball more. Like, what are we talking about? And I think he had his first or second goal that game. Unironically, like he just, Matt Moore does a great job throwing the ball to people, and he has got a lot of confidence, and Mason just caught it, kind of put it in. So look, I think, yeah, point number one, it's like, the best leaders, they do, right. They're the first ones to go out there and show you that they're the hardest workers. And, there's not a lot of words. I think that they prove it on the field. The second is, confidence. I don't know. I think as a leader, this shouldn't be out of character, but, you gotta like build relationships with people around you and get to know them. Goes back to what I was saying about the coaches, how they build, a good group of guys. I don't know if we're successful if, we don't eat all of our meals together and choose to do it. If, we don't have an interest in each other's personal lives, if, we don't know the names of our, teammates, significant others and what they do outside of, just the archers. Those three things I think pop up. I'm sure there's a bunch that I'm going to miss. Probably like being prepared, like, anyone who's listening to this podcast who's young, like go do your stick work. Make sure you have a stick in your hand. Don't drop passes. But anyway, I won't belabor the point. Those are probably like the three main themes that I think about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not against the Mason Woodward two bomb every once in a while,
I think he should take one or two a game at least.
Yeah, I'll take it. How do you think that, like, being good lead? How do you think someone that's in like the high school or college level even can be a good leader, especially maybe if they're not a captain or even if they are?
Yeah, I think being prepared is your number one, friend. It sounds like a cliche, but it's helpful for me mentally. Like I feel like I am as much a mental player as a physical player, and I mean it might not show, but you can only control what you can control, and I feel like that pops up in my head a lot, especially during the game with the ebbs and flows of how crazy games can be. You only control the next play. And I think if I was in your shoes, right, the thing that I can control is being prepared, making sure that I'm in incredible shape. ensuring that my stick is totally dialed in. Am I coachable? I feel like people kind of forget about how important being coachable is. Being curious, like asking questions. If I'm on the field and I don't understand something, or worse, I want to spend some time with my coach to, teach me about an inside roll or how to throw better with my offhand or, shoot low to high. Go ask questions. And then the last thing is, putting in the extra work. I think that, it's important to be prepared, but like people will gravitate towards you if after the game, after practice, you go grab a bucket of balls and you go shoot for 20 minutes. One of my favorite teammates, and he should frankly be the teammate of the year, is Nick Washuta. I don't know if you guys know him very well. You should have him on the podcast. Um, Something that he does. I mean, we love, like, our team loves to shoot. You've seen the guys on our team; they shoot the piss out of it. Uh, Nick Washuta during practice hops into all of our shooting drills, and we're doing shooting drills from 10 yards out, no one on us, hands free, and he's hopping in with little to no warm up, sometimes a warm up. And his reasoning is, well, I got to be ready to go as a backup at all times. Um, and then after practice, we all love to stay around and shoot. I'm not sure what it is. I think we all just love to play lacrosse. We love to hang out with each other. We love to get our hands free and let it fly. Nick will stay after and shoot with us. And I don't think a leader, again, has to be the most vocal person. I think a leader, shows up, and I think that they spend the extra time to continue to hone in on their craft.
That's awesome.
For
It's
sure.
actually a perfect segue into kind of one of our last questions with you, talking about that Teammate of the Year award.
Sure.
It's one of the only awards in the whole league that tells you more about a player outside of just lacrosse. So we kind of wanted to see like almost a backstage look at that award, like what goes into it. It's obviously got to be more than guys just like being around you. I mean, I know it's asking to we're kind of asking you
Yes.
to brag about yourself here, but I
Yeah, I
guess
don't know.
like what kind of goes into that, and like what kind of advice would you give to players to like be that teammate of the year and to live within whatever role that they are on their lacrosse teams?
Yeah. Um, oh, that's a hard one. Um, I don't know. I think I think a part of it is understanding your role a little bit. Um, I don't know. I know where I fit into the team, and I'm really fortunate that I've got good teammates who respect what I bring to the game, and it's not always goals and assists, and I'm okay with that because I'd rather win than go put out 5 points and have us lose by a goal or 5 goals or 10 goals. Like I don't know. That's just top of mind for me. It's never, been about the goals and assists for me. They're nice to have. Don't get me wrong. Like once you see one go in, it's pretty nice. Um, it's hard to say though. I honestly, like, it would be easier for me to tell you why someone like Nick Washuta should probably be the teammate of the year. And it's a lot of those pieces that I just mentioned where none of you guys see it, and not that you should. The fact that he's hopping into every shooting drill where no other goalie in the league is doing that, and we're hands free from 10 yards, and he's getting hit in the hand, the leg, the shin, the knee, the head, like before games, literally right before games, during practice. He must take 300 shots every single weekend when we see him. Um, when he is on the sideline, he's basically another coach. He's helping with whatever is needed. He's doing everything from helping either with like a water bottle or a wet towel to giving Brett Dobson a stick that he uses to win his second MVP to hopping in net if he needs to, and literally being one of the best goalies in the league. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And there's no bias there. It's just true. He's an All-American in college, and he's a stud. So I look at more of the things that he does that I respect, and it doesn't always have to be about goals and assists. Like, he is the ultimate person who is supporting every single person on our team outside of himself. He also happens to be an incredibly talented lacrosse player. So, like, I just look at those things, I guess, that for someone like him, when I go to vote for him next year as like that teammate of the year, I'm going to look at all of those things and go, yeah, that's what makes him an incredible teammate. Is it's not about him. He's doing everything possible to help ensure we're successful. Oh, and by the way, he's pretty darn good.
I
That's
I love
awesome.
that. It feels like I think Toast and I and Brady talked about this early on.
Yeah.
It feels like the Archers as a team is a team of people who really want to work together, understand the goal, and it feels like Coach Bates kind of leads with that. And you talk about the draft, like we talk about the people he drafts is for position and personality as well, and how they
Hmm.
fit into that mold. And we love that about like I think for us as fans, it's like it's so good to see a team where it's like we have some amazing players and some superstars on our team, but to a player, everybody does their job and everybody does it well, and everybody just wants to see the team succeed above anything else, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So we love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a talented staff. I mean,
Yeah.
to take a second and think about all of the accomplishments, Coach Resch has won double-digit amount of professional championships on top of gold medals. The defensive performance that they put together in the last 4 weeks is, nothing short of incredible. I think that Coach Kavanaugh, I've said it a lot, and I'm happy to keep shouting it from the mountaintop. He is one of the brightest minds in lacrosse, and I've said up and coming. He's like one of the brightest minds. If you go and look back at some of the substitution patterns that we run, if you look at how, when we're winning and we're playing well, outside of Dauber saving the ball 100 times a game, we typically are incredibly efficient with our substitution patterns, and we're super thoughtful about how we manage the clock. Um, and that's because of him. His game plan on how to manage the middle of the field is second to none. I won't give up all of his secrets, but if you go back and watch some of the championship game or even the semifinal, you'll see some of his fingerprints on the substitution patterns. Um, and I think Coach Bates kind of rounds it all out because, to your point, Jackson, like he's, seems down to earth. He's a fun guy. He's intense. He wants to win more than anyone. Same with Coach Resch and Coach Cav. Don't mistake anything here. Like those guys are as fiery of a group that I've met, especially when, you have a great fan base behind them, when a big game is on the line. It's remarkable. And, I don't think people talk about Coach Bates' playing career enough as well. He won 3 championships with the Wings indoor. Coach Cav, I don't think he's lost a championship game in quite some time. We had the sixes, fiasco last year. We didn't quite win as much, but I just really admire, I think, like how much those guys, have won, how much they prepare us to win, how they treat us like adults, and they put together a game plan that we feel really confident about. And I feel like the only time that we might not be successful is, when we don't run it. So it's good to have that type of coaching in the background and to feel like every game you go into, you have like a fighter's chance on top of some, in pretty ridiculous talent.
I love that. So with second banner raising is going to happen next year.
Sure.
So again, I think I said this to everybody, we as fans, thank you all for what you
Yeah.
do because it is great to have number one that we can say, hey, our team is the winningest program, winningest pro team in all of Utah sports, which is awesome. Um, thank you as fans to make it easy to be you make it easy for us to be fans of the Archers
Yeah.
because it's so fun to watch. Like you talk about us getting behind you guys, like Utah fans are crazy about their sports, but it's even easier when you're winning and you're winning championships. So thank you for that. Um,
Yeah. That was fun.
so how do we three-peat here? Like what does the off season look like? What is, rolling into next year? What do things look like for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we probably need to like re-sign some key guys. I think Matt Moore, Grant, Graham. Not sure who else is on that list. Those are some pretty key players of ours. Uh, who probably doesn't get enough love is Warren Jeffrey. He is an absolute monster and another winner. Like he is won at every single level. Um, so when I think about next year, I don't know, it's a slow build, right? What I appreciated about last year is, we went through some ups and some downs, had some injuries, had some bad bounces. I don't think anyone was ever panicked. I think the thought every single week was, all right, we screwed up last week, or we skirted out of there with a win that maybe we shouldn't have had. How do we get better? Um, and when you have that mindset, and not the mindset of, oh my God, we got to do this because we got to repeat back to back, even up to the championship. I didn't feel any pressure. I don't know if that's right or if that's wrong. I just knew what we were supposed to execute, and I knew that if we did it, we were going to be in a good spot to win. So for me, in the off season, and I think a lot of guys are going to be doing this as well. It's just preparing, right? Like, how do we up level our game and get in better shape? How do you put on maybe some more muscle, get a little faster, improve your offhand? Um, I'm pretty excited because I've got Bo Pedersen in the city as well, with Piper Bond. We almost had Connor Marr. That would have been maybe too much. But getting to work out with those guys, I'm hoping adds, some more flavor to things as well, because you get to, do some one-on-ones with them, get probably beat up by them a couple times a week. And I'm sure that we'll have fun, week one, and there'll be a nice celebration. But I think once that happens, the second championship, they're an afterthought. It's whoever are the opponent in front of our faces, and the first play that we need to make all the way until the last one to ensure that we're playing fast and playing together.
Love it. Well, we're planning on a three-peat.
Hope so.
As a Utah team, we haven't lost one yet, so we just want you guys to keep that going. So
I
forever in
gotta,
Utah.
I gotta knock on some wood. Maybe we need to lose all of the sixes tournament.
There you go.
We have to balance out the karma. We really took a beating last year.
And Jackson just texted me that if you lose the first game, he's going to pull his tooth out. So we're good.
Yeah,
So
now we're talking. That's a true fan. That is a very true fan. If you guys had to name your favorite players, who would they be?
Oh man, throwing the questions back on us. That's a great question.
Oh man.
Um, do you want me to go first? So,
Whoever
um,
you want.
I have a goalie as my youngest is a goalie, so I love Dobber for that. Just seeing him
Fair.
perform. I think I love seeing something like Graham Hossack, just really
Oh,
quiet, but
the
like he does
best.
like just looks like he inflicts some pain out there. My oldest is a Pole, like to inflict pain on people. And but just see him play in such control that he's just like inflicting pain. I love that.
So surgical too. One of the best,
Yes.
like incredible hands.
Yeah.
He's just a moose, just a physical specimen.
Yeah. And then I think if you had to give me a third, um, just seeing the way that Grant has has progressed from an offensive player to a midi, just
Agreed.
doing what he does and what he can do with a pass, like just and seeing his progression this year, like taking guys one on one and beating them, adding that to his
Yeah,
game was a lot of fun to see. So I know that's probably my three from this season. So
yeah. It's worth. It probably bears comment too. I mean, he had an incredible year. I'm really happy that two guys got the recognition they deserve, specifically Grant and Trey on the All Pro teams, because Trey has been a stud forever. He's all-time leading, goal scorer at Ohio State. You might never know it, just because he's so versatile. But Grant stepping up into that role of playing midfield, not complaining, getting healthy in the offseason. You talk about what goes into potentially doing another championship. I mean, he really took a lot of time to get into incredible shape and focused on his health, changed up his entire workout routine, who he was practicing with, what he was practicing on. To his credit, he was just absolutely dialed in. And he took an incredible leadership role that I don't think many people see or really talk about. And why would you? It's in the locker room, but it's worth talking through, because we don't complete the season without his skills, but also his professionalism throughout the year.
for sure. What about you guys? Toast, Jackson?
Bro,
I think. Oh, Toast, you
no,
got it.
no, Jackson, you got it.
Oh, okay. I think for me, gotta be Dobson. I love
Yeah.
watching him play. I love watching like his higher arc. Um, Another one I really like, right, is Grant. When I watch him play, I just love his energy. Just like
Yeah.
I just think he's a great teammate. Like energy, it's like hype for his teammates. It's just electric. And then I think another awesome one is Van Overbeek because
Oh yeah.
I mean it's obvious like he's just worked his tail off and then he gets the call and like it's just what he's been waiting for. He just performs. I just think it's awesome.
He's a baller. When he was incredible in camp, and then when we played in Minnesota in that rainy game against the Cannons, he came to practice the night before and absolutely balled out. I think he scored every single time he had the ball in his stick, or at least had a shot attempt that and was creating separation. What an awesome story for him that he comes in later on in the season, stays on, and is like a key part in that run. Same with Dice. Like it's not easy to go through like in and out of
Yeah.
the lineup, and those two as rookies didn't skip a beat. Like Dice scores that incredible goal in the championship. Vano obviously in the Utah weekend scores 4 goals like back to back. Like it just I don't know. I was so happy that those guys got their time to shine because it's so hard because everyone's so talented and they just man they didn't skip a beat and they came in and just were contributors from day one. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, bro, it is so difficult to pick favorite players from this Archers
I
team.
know,
It's like all of these guys I love for different reasons, you know. Um you look at like one of my favorite guys to watch, just I love when he's on the field, Trey LeClaire. Like just he's just like a firework.
man.
Like
Oh
he
my
has a
God,
piss missile of a shot. And just like when he's rolling, man, it is just so fun to watch him play. I think
amazing.
anybody who doesn't say Dauber is kidding themselves. Like that guy, he's got one of the funniest personalities, and then
He
is at the
does.
same time is just insane in cage. And you got like all these guys on defense. I mean, I'm a big defensive guy, so you got like Haas in the middle who's just blowing guys up. You got Jeffrey with the big stash who can lock it down. You got
I
Woody who's
know.
going back and forth and is able to be so versatile. And then on offense, like I feel like in terms of like role models, like I would put like you and Tom super high up there in terms of just guys that are humble but also just incredible leaders, guys that really know how to lead a team. And then you got obviously Grant, just the versatility of his play, how his transition has been incredible. Like it's like how do you not love this team? That's
I
been
know.
my
It's a lot
thing
of
is
fun.
like it's such a fun team to watch. There's so much personality, but at the same time, you look at like I don't know. You can just see the different personalities of each team. This is one thing we talked about a ton too. It's just the Archers have such a unique culture. It's
Yeah,
like it's almost like
it's fun.
it's like a wise dad energy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I would
I'll
describe it.
take it.
It's
I actually like that.
I mean, because you got like Fieldsy, who the weekend before Utah, he's wearing a shirt that says like Saturdays are for the dads. And I was like, man, if
That's
that isn't the
right.
most Archers thing, like I don't know if any other team would have that kind of have that kind of energy.
Just a
So
dad who goes out and scores, one hopper between the legs and
yeah,
almost hits it 3 times during the season. Did you
just
guys notice?
ridiculous.
So on Mason Woodward's goal in against Denver and Utah, there was a clear out on the crease, which led to the run out. But Warren clears the crease and just goosed it to Dauber between his legs, and Dauber picks it up and throws a dart 50 yards up, and then Mason sort of windshield wipes and finish it. Like the play that Warren made, I feel like people don't really talk about that he no look just hit it between his legs in a goose to Dauber, who then threw a 50-yard dart. Like I've rewound that one and Bo's goal are and like the OT, Crowd erupt. Those are 3 plays that I watch pretty frequently. It's hard not to. If you're in a bad mood, it lifts you up pretty quickly.
100%. No, I love it. Ryan, we really appreciate you being on, taking time with us.
Yeah.
It's awesome for somebody, say of your caliber, but like for us as fans, we're like, oh my goodness, we're talking to Ryan Ambler. Like huge,
I
like,
appreciate that, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
but, but like we're really grateful you guys give us the time, because the insight you give us and give, fans and kids like Jackson to be like, seeing you guys in the access is, I think, what makes the PLL different. And
Yeah.
you guys as players, like we haven't, I think Austin and I talk, like we get done and we're like, man, met another archer that we love. Like you guys are just great people. And so we
well, you
really
guys are
appreciate
easy
you
to
giving us
talk
time.
to, so I think it makes it easy. I mean, I think about it, we're all pretty passionate about this, and it's nice to win, but it's nice to go to a place where everyone is so invested, and what you guys are doing is going to be so foundational to what this organization is going to be able to accomplish in the future. So it's not lost on me that in the near term it's a blast to get to talk lax with some of the best supporters in the league, but we're going to look back in 5, 10, 15 years and be like, that was the start of something pretty cool. So I'm just happy to be a part of it, and thanks for having me on.
No, 100%. And then like Toast has told everybody else, this year in Utah was the base level. We're only up from here.
Baby.
So it only goes up from here. So Jackson, I know you've listened to the show. Do you know how Brady takes us out?
I don't remember.
Oh, come on. You let me down, Jackson. All right.
Sorry, James.
Well, I'll do it in Brady's absence. Like the Archer's motto that you have in the jerseys, above all else, win. So,
yeah, baby.
Ryan, thank you.
Baby.
Enjoy the off season. We'll see you in the Champ Series. So, thanks so much.
Sounds great.
Thanks,
see you
Ryan.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye. This podcast is not affiliated with the Premier Lacrosse League or Archers Lacrosse Club. This is an independent, fan-run podcast.